What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today I'm coming in with a classic video talking about my opinion on acid versus shrooms. Now, before I get into that, I do want to mention a couple things. First off, drop a like if you do enjoy. Second off, for those of you guys who remember way back in April, I made a father application, a Google form you could fill out and apply. I remade it. That is back open. That is linked in the description. If any of you guys, maybe your dad went to the store and never came back, you could fill out that application and I could be your father. That's right. So check the description, fill it out. It's free to fill out. It's $0 cost to have me as a father. It is truly, truly free. But either way, second thing I do want to mention is completely unrelated to anything on this channel. I haven't uploaded because Love is Rage 2 is amazing, and I've just been listening to it over and over, and I haven't listened to ASAP's album or X's album or anyone else's. I've literally just been listening to Love is Rage 2 for like 3 days. So either way, let's dive into it. Now, first thing I want to mention is, like I said before, this is opinion-based. This isn't all factual. This isn't a very scientific, down-to-the-facts video. This is an opinion with, my experience, based on my experience with each of these drugs. Me saying personally which one I like more. That doesn't mean this is going to apply to all of you. This is just my 2 cents. So, either way, acid versus shrooms. Now, for me, the main distinction between these two drugs, even though they're both psychedelics, is how the high affects you. And I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer, no shit. But I mean that as in, one is a very intense mind high, and one is a very intense body high, from my experience. And from what I've had of both acid and shrooms, acid tends to be a much, much more intense body high, or mind high, excuse me. And shrooms are more of a body high. It's very, very different, Even though they're both psychedelics, people always think of acid and shrooms together. They're very, very distinctly different. The second thing that really differentiates these two drugs for me is the difference in visuals. When you're on acid, when you're tripping hard, you dropped a couple tabs, you're feeling great. The main thing that happens for me, at least, is everything's very colorful. Maybe there's a little distortion here and there with what I'm looking at. Maybe some things are disproportionate, or there's just some sort of distortion, but mainly it more so affects the color perception of what I see and how it's hard to explain. I guess my color perception and my depth perception almost is altered on acid. When it comes to shrooms, it's almost like an entirely different visual experience. It's more so everything is affected. It's beyond colors. Things are different shapes and sizes than they should be. And this is my experience, like I've said before. I've heard of people having visuals like that on acid and vice versa. So, I mean, it depends on who you are. But from my experience, when I'm on shrooms, and I've only done shrooms a few times. I mean, shrooms are not a common thing for me because I did really fucking love acid. But, when I'd done shrooms, it was more of everything was just very morphed. Everything was very, not color-wise, but physically. Like if I saw, for example, like a light pole, when I was on shrooms, it would look like that light pole looked like a fucking spaghetti noodle, When I'm driving by a house, that house would look like just a big blob of like Jello, like it was, everything was very wobbly almost. It was very odd in comparison to acid. And that's why my first time doing shrooms, I had a pretty bad trip because I wasn't really ready for it. I wasn't really prepared. I thought it was going to be pretty similar to acid. It's not. It's very different. It is very different. The third thing that differentiates the two for me is the mind component of it, how you process thoughts, how you act, I guess. When I'm on acid, honestly, I view acid as more of a party-oriented psychedelic, and not 100% of the time. Like, it's not a party drug by any means, but if I had to go to a party on shrooms or go to a party on acid, 100% of the time I'm popping a tab. 100% of the fucking time. Because acid it's more, when I'm sitting there on acid, it's like I'm more connecting with the people around me in like a upbeat, happy manner. Everything's more upbeat when I'm on acid. Everything's more colorful. Things just look more interesting. I'm, really curious about other people. When I'm on shrooms, it's very different. Shrooms are, in my opinion, an antisocial kind of drug. You don't kick it with all your boys and just eat a bunch of shrooms. I mean, you can, technically you could. I've done it, but it's much more enjoyable as like a solo or like with one other person that you very well trust kind of experience. It's not like a very good, party or social drug. Hold on, I'm opening a drink. But no, it's more of like it's more of a drug where like you sit down and you're just thinking, you're just thinking so unnecessarily deeply about yourself. And like from my experience, at least, I was sitting there and I was just perceiving my whole life. Like I was just looking back and I was just like, why did I do that? Why did I not do this? Like I was sitting there just kind of reflecting on like myself. It's a very like spiritual experience almost. Whereas like with acid, it's more of a social experience, if that makes sense. They're very, very distinctly different from my experience, and this isn't going to be a super long video. Like I'm pretty much almost done with this. This is more of a shorter comparison video for you guys, for those of you who may have never done either of these drugs or are just curious about my 2 cents on them. This is more what this is oriented for. This isn't like any crazy story, but overall, my personal opinion on acid versus shrooms and which one I prefer and which one I recommend, I say acid, and it varies person to person, but I've always been a huge advocate for LSD. I fucking love acid. If any of you guys have watched my channel for a little while now, you know that the only 2 drugs I really 100% of the time gave a thumbs up to were acid and weed. That's it. And, reason being, acid there's just something about it. It just kind of, it's one of those drugs where you could have one trip where you're just at a party, sucking on a girl's titty and smoking a blunt and just seeing wild colors because some dude's playing like trippy visuals on his TV screen. And then you can have another trip where you're sitting there reflecting upon the time you like yelled at your friend and you like cry it out and call him and apologize and then change your life forever. It's one of those kind of drugs. With shrooms, I just kind of feel uncomfortable. Like, in all honesty, I mean, that's just kind of my experience. So, either way, shorter video, I know. Hope you guys did enjoy. Drop a like if you did. Don't forget to fill out the father application if you are an orphan, potentially in need of a father. It's free to fill out. I can help you. But either way, thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.